It is an incident that happened a long time ago. If it had happened to someone else, it's an incident that would have long time ago been forgotten. Well, this week, Governor Charlie Crist announced that he's considering issuing a pardon before he leaves office for Jim Morrison. That's the Jim Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors. Morrison was convicted of lewd conduct for something that happened at a Miami concert in 1969. News Channel 8's Jeff Patterson reports there is more than one Bay Area connection to this story.
It's a bit of rock and roll history. Actually, rock and roll legend. Jim Morrison and The Doors performing in concert in Miami in 1969. You're listening to an actual sound recording of the concert used as evidence in a trial against Morrison.
This situation is a blot upon our community.
On stage, Morrison used profane language. And here's the part that's rock and roll legend, rock and roll myth. Police say Morrison exposed himself on stage.
We have taken out 2 warrants for Jim Morrison.
Bay Area resident Alan Ryan went to the concert that night in Miami.
We were teenagers, and we just were looking for something to do.
Ryan says at the time, as a 16-year-old, he didn't even know that he had witnessed history.
I never knew that until I started seeing a few articles like 25, 30 years after the event.
Ryan was just there to take a pretty girl to a show.
We were there on a date, and Morrison was late. The band was there, and they played for about 20 minutes before he even showed up. I think he was in the back room, drinking wine.
Ryan says it was obvious Morrison was under the influence of something.
And then he finally came out, right? And went into this long Light My Fire rendition.
And as you can hear from the tape of the concert, it wasn't Morrison's best performance. But it did become one of his best known performances, even depicted in Oliver Stone's movie The Doors, with Val Kilmer as Morrison. Ryan remembers the moment Morrison got into trouble with the cops.
There were Miami-Dade cops in front of the stage. And this is what set up the arrest, I think, because he leaned down and he picked a cop's hat off and he put it on his own head. And he staggered around the stage for a while.
Ryan says the police were visibly angered. Morrison pushed further.
This is your show. Anything you want goes. Now, come on.
And he was, hey, ladies, you want to see my thing?
The question we will never know the answer to, did he or didn't he show it?
And he kept reaching for the zipper. And when he finally reached for it, the lights went off. The stage lights went off.
As you can hear from the concert tape, police dragged Morrison off the stage. At the urging of fans, Governor Charlie Crist is now considering a pardon for Morrison, which doesn't mean much to Alan Ryan.
Well, I don't know what's to pardon. The man's been dead for 40 years.
Well, there's that. Before his death in 1971, Jim Morrison spent a great deal of time in the Bay Area. His grandparents owned a home in Clearwater on North Osceola Avenue. The home has been torn down. Morrison lived there in the 40s and again in the 60s when he attended Clearwater High School. He went on to St. Pete Junior College and then Florida State University. Governor Crist may decide next month if he will pardon Morrison. Keith?
All right, very interesting. Thank you, Jeff.
I think he hit it on the mark when he said it wasn't one of his better performances based on that video. It almost
sounded like they slowed it down. Val Kilmer did a remarkable job with that movie, though. It's so memorable seeing it on stage and then hearing the real recording. It was rough.
It was rough.